Hello and welcome to The Big Fight. So all week long, the headlines have been very much dominated by Arvind Kejriwal, by Robert Vadra, by some of the charges that were being made. We're going to try and go a little bit behind that. Where is this taking our politics? Where is it taking our country? Are we heading now for a way of fighting corruption, which was largely about naming and shaming, if you like, putting names out there and saying, look, this is what the charges are. This may not necessarily have happened if libel laws had been slightly different than they are in the country. On the other hand, others will say this is the only way we can clean up the system. So those are just some of the issues that we're going to try and discuss and debate right here on The Big Fight. I'd like to welcome our very special guest we've got with us. I'm going to start off by welcoming Sucheta Dalal, senior journalist, managing editor. Money Life has been influential in blowing the whistle, if you like, on a large number of scams in the past, including one of the biggest of them all, nearly 20 years ago, almost today's Sucheta. We are also being joined by Nutan Thakur, social activist who's filed a PIL in the Lucknow bench of the Allahabad High Court, essentially looking to ask for a search into the charges leveled by Mr. Kejriwal on Robert Vadra's land deals. Right here in the studio with us, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Dr. Yogendra Yadav, who's a member of Team Kejriwal, if I can call it that. Do you have a political party name yet, or we are still trying to decide that?
Hasn't been formed, and if we had formed it and announced the name, someone else would have grabbed it. That's why.
Okay. So, Team Kejriwal will do for the moment.
Team New Political Party, Team Anti-Corruption, whatever.
Team New Political Party. Okay, fine. Meher Sharma, Associate Editor of Business Standard. It's fantastic to have you with us. Mr. GVL Narasimha Rao, who's a member of the BJP's National Electoral Reforms Committee. Fantastic too that you could join us. We have Satvik Verma, lawyer and columnist with us as well. Vinod Sharma, political editor of the Hindustan Times. And in just a couple of minutes, we're also going to get a voice from the Congress party. Keshav Rao going to be joining us to tell us what he thinks of all of this. Can I just start off with you, Dr. Yadav? What happened in this particular case, do you think this is potentially setting a dangerous precedent that with a certain set of documents do not get legal proof, it comes out, it's put into public domain, where does this end up? Now in this case, you may feel you did it to the best of interest, but if everyone starts to do this, could there be problems?
Vikram, on the contrary, I actually believe that this is a very fine moment for our democracy. For a very long time, all the main political parties of this country have followed a code of silence. You don't talk about Ranjan Bhattacharya, we won't talk about Robert Vadra. You don't talk about this particular company, I wouldn't talk about that political company. Certain things have, and these are things which everyone in Delhi knows about, but no one talks about those things in public. In democracy, such codes needs to be shattered. A rank outsider has come and has shattered that. That's very nice news for democracy.
I'm trying to figure out what the next barrier is that's going to be shattered. Because I'll tell you, if you are on this path, then it's not why stop on corruption. For example, another area where everyone maintains silence is, sexual scandals, which politician is doing to whom. We don't talk about it. It's again discussed. So is that the next now?
The point is to be able to distinguish privacy from secrecy, which damages public interest. In the case of Mr. Vadra and in the other ones to follow, these are clearly matters of public interest. Can anyone sitting here say that these are not matters of public interest? Going into their personal life and other things is not something, once you say I want to shift the line, you are not saying I want to erase the line. Yes, there is a danger.
But in the US, for example, a sexual scandal is always something which is a matter of public interest. So I guess we'll have to find out where the line is. Let me turn to you. Is a line being crossed out here? And if it is it a step for the good or for the bad?
First, let me answer that. Ranjan Bhattacharya, there have never been any public charges against him.
If there are public charges against Robert Vadra either till now.
No, I'm saying up till now, Ranjan Bhattacharya.
You don't know what they will do next.
Okay,
he's dropping a clear hint.
I firmly believe if there is anything that the politicians are guilty of, I think media and civil society has every right to expose them. I think politicians are accountable to the people of the country. Politicians are servants of the people. So if there is anything wrong that anybody has done, I think it's fair to put it in public domain.
And you'll be okay with naming and shaming even if it's of a member of the BJP next week?
No, but it has to be substantiated.
Nutan ji, आपने PIL फाइल करी है इस मामले को लेकर, आपने ऐसा क्यों किया?
क्योंकि मुझे ऐसा लगा कि अभी तक जितने भी मीडिया के जरिए जो खबरें आ रही थी और जो एलिगेशंस लगाए जा रहे थे, जो बातें आ रही थी, कई सारे फैक्ट्स जो हैं वो पब्लिक डोमेन में थे, उसके बाद भी सारे मिनिस्टर्स बगैर इंक्वायरी के जस्टिफाई कर रहे थे कि ये फैक्ट्स गलत हैं और किसी इंक्वायरी की जरूरत नहीं है। यहाँ पे बगैर किसी इंक्वायरी के साफ क्लीन चिट दे देना कि ऐसा कुछ हुआ नहीं है, ये बड़ा अजीबोगरीब सिचुएशन है हमारे यहाँ का। तो मैंने पीएमओ में पहले तो कंप्लेन भेजी थी इस पूरे मैटर की, और जो फैक्ट्स पब्लिक डोमेन में थे उन्हें भी दिया, लेकिन ये भी फेथ नहीं था, क्योंकि जब एक साथ सारे मिनिस्टर्स डिनाई कर रहे हो कि किसी इंक्वायरी की जरूरत नहीं है, तो कोर्ट इंटरवेंशन की जरूरत महसूस हुई कि शायद कोर्ट जाने पे इस मैटर में जांच हो।
Vinod, I mean, her point is that everyone came out very fast and said nothing has happened without this.
Yeah, I think that her intervention has been most creative, because you know, the whole issue has been discussed in public interest. Kejriwal made the disclosures in public interest. Kejriwal and Prashant Bhushan are known for their legal acumen, and I think Yogendra also has mentioned it in one of his articles that the proof of quid pro quo is not conclusive. Now, if that was so, then I think that the only forum available where you could sift the grain from the chaff was the court. They were wanting to encash the issue to the extent, to the hilt, so that they could get some political mileage, and then if the courts had intervened or at their behest, then it would have become sub judice, and they wouldn't have been able to exploit it to the extent possible.
I think the part of the question which arises with this is, and here's where the danger is, it's not in this case or another case or something else might happen. There could be a time when your people are coming out and making this disclosure without adequate evidence. I'm not saying whether it exists in this case or not, I'm talking about the principle of it. Essentially to create a media spectacle. And given that defamation and libel laws in India are practically meaningless, this could become a trend.
There are two fundamental principles to any responsible allegations. One, does anyone make it anonymously or someone is prepared to own it up? Number two, do you just make an allegation or you try and back it up as much as is possible with documentary things? In this case, two responsible people own it up, and every single line of that press release says see Appendix 2, see Appendix 3. Lots of documentations of that kind.
Okay.
Is it legally sufficient? My sense is not, and that's precisely why you need CBI, that's why you have CVC, you have institutions of that kind. How can a private individual ever be expected to provide final foolproof solutions? That's never happened, and if that were to be the case, media would have to stop reporting everything in this country. This is not what all political parties in this country, Congress has leveled all kinds of allegations against every possible non-Congress party. Have they ever said that we would first go to court, get a verdict, and after that we'll put this allegation? And if we were to do what Vinodji is saying, it means that in this country, public debates about improper conduct should take place only when there is a judicial verdict. Do you really want to say that, Vinodji?
I agree with you, but only to a limit. You see, my problem is what? Any discourse of this nature, which involves people in high places, should be a discourse that should empower me as a citizen of this country. Now, in this case, Kejriwal mentioned that there were two entities which were wrongly excluded from the bidding process in case of the DLF land, 350 or so acres. And these entities were named by Kejriwal. Now, neither of these two entities, which in my view are dispassionate players, they are not involved parties in the sense that they are parties which have suffered. The question is that these two entities, what is the version of these two entities?
I don't think we are trying this specific case because no one is here.
He talks about Robert Vadra being in a high position. He's not holding any high position.
But actually, if it wasn't, he wasn't in a high position, why are we having the debate?
But more importantly, it's not a question of quid pro quo alone. We are talking about a quid pro quo. On the face of it, the allegations show that Robert Vadra had not even conformed to the regulatory regulations of various bodies. And also, he has perhaps not paid capital gains tax on these windfall gains that he has made out of it. So it's
see, neither is Robert Vadra here right now to defend himself, and frankly, that's exactly the point that I want to ask you right now. The case that has been put forward, and this is what I'm trying to understand the principles which we should follow in our public discourse. He says some of these things have to be put out into public domain, even if it's not 100% legally foolproof. What do you make of the case that they've made forward?
I think your question your last question to Mr. Yadav still remains unanswered on whether this is a scary practice to just sort of make announcements and say A has done this, B has done this, go on trial. And I don't think Mr. Yadav has, according to me at least, adequately answered that. And I think in his article, in fact, goes on to say that the laws of this country presume the innocence of a person, but unfortunately, by making this khulasa, by making this announcement, the media trial that that person goes through does not leave any doubt for innocence. So while Mr. Yadav acknowledges himself in his article saying that there is a presumption of innocence, yet the trial by media over the extended period of time almost leads all the people, the common citizens that you were saying, to evaluate the evidence.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.